Nobody gets invited to a family legacy meeting unless somebody has already decided your future behind closed doors. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday morning. Cream envelope, gold lettering. My full name written carefully across the front like I was being summoned instead of welcomed home. I stood in my kitchen holding it while the coffee machine hissed behind me. No, love you. No handwritten note, nothing warm. That was the first thing that made my stomach tighten. The second was the card inside. Family legacy meeting attendance required. Required, not requested, not welcomed. Required. I almost laughed. Because in my family, formal language usually meant somebody had already made a decision before you entered the room. My phone buzzed. Vanessa, my older sister. Please don't make things uncomfortable this time. Dad's stressed enough already. I nearly deleted the message instantly. Then I reread the words, make things uncomfortable. That had always been my role in the family. Not daughter, not partner, not equal, disruption. Every family dinner ended the same way. My father talking, everyone agreeing. And the second I questioned something, the mood changed. I still remember the night I told them I wanted to leave the family company and build something on my own. My father leaned back in his chair and laughed. Not loud, worse, disappointed. You can barely manage your own life, he said. I remember looking around the table waiting for someone to defend me. Nobody did. My mother kept eating. Vanessa smiled into her wineglass. And 10 minutes later, the conversation moved on like I hadn't been humiliated in front of everyone. 6 years later, one of my father's own directors quietly applied for a job at my company. I never told him. I never told any of them. Because nobody in that family had cared enough to ask what happened to me after I left. I walked into my bedroom and opened the bottom drawer beneath a stack of old journals. Inside sat a thin black folder. My attorney once looked at it and said, "Never bring this to a family meeting unless you're ready to change everything." I stared at the folder for a few seconds before sliding it carefully into my bag. Then I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked harmless. That had always been their favorite version of me. And for the first time in years, my family was about to sit across from me believing I still was. In my family, legacy meetings only happened after decisions were already made behind closed doors. That thought stayed with me the entire drive to my parents' estate. The house looked exactly the same. Perfect hedges, white stone walls. Beautiful in the same cold way expensive hotels are beautiful. I parked near the back of the driveway and watched people entering through the front doors. Nobody looked for me. Nobody waved. Inside, the dining hall had been transformed into a formal meeting room. Long, polished table, leather chairs, stacks of printed folders, crystal water glasses catching the light. Vanessa stood near the center beside the family attorney, smiling softly while everyone gathered around her. She already looked like the person in charge. Then she saw me. For half a second, her smile slipped. Not surprise, annoyance. Like I had complicated something important just by showing up. "There you are," she said. Not, "I'm glad you came." Not, "You look good," just polite tension. I looked around the table slowly. Every seat had a printed name card. Dad, Mom, Vanessa, board members, family advisors. Even my cousin Rachel's husband had one. Mine was missing. An assistant noticed me standing there and froze. "Oh," she said quietly. Then she hurried toward the wall and grabbed an extra chair, not even matching with the others. She placed it near the corner beside the coffee station. No folder, no printed agenda, nothing. Like they had already decided I didn't belong at the table. Vanessa slid a folder toward the empty space in front of me automatically, then stopped. A small pause. "Oh," she said softly, "I guess you don't need one." Nobody reacted. That was the humiliating part. Not even my father looked up from his paperwork. Behind me, I heard my uncle murmur quietly to someone. "Thought she moved on from all this." A few restrained laughs followed. I felt heat crawl into my face. The same humiliation I used to swallow every holiday, every birthday, every family dinner where I somehow became the problem for noticing what everyone else ignored. But standing there beside that unmatched chair, something inside me shifted. For the first time in years, I stopped feeling embarrassed and started paying attention, because nobody in that room looked afraid of me yet. The meeting started 5 minutes later, and within the first minute, I understood why I had really been invited. The room no longer felt like a family gathering. It felt like a transition. People kept turning toward Vanessa before speaking, even the attorney. The screen behind her filled with roles, assets, and future leadership assignments. Every member of the family had a place in it, except me. My brother Ethan would oversee investment operations. Vanessa would become acting family director. Even Rachel's husband had been assigned an advisory role. My name never appeared once. Not on the charts, not in the notes, not even accidentally. Like they had already practiced a version of the future where I no longer existed. Then Vanessa picked up a separate folder from beside her chair. "This is mostly procedural," she said calmly. She walked over and placed it beside me on the table near my unmatched chair. "You'll just need to sign the acknowledgement forms." I opened the folder slowly. The first page made my stomach drop. By signing, I would permanently surrender any future voting rights connected to the family estate, businesses, and trust decisions. "Nobody mentioned this before," I said quietly. Vanessa gave me a small, reassuring smile. "That's why we wanted to discuss it together as a family." Family. The word almost made me laugh. Across the table, my mother finally spoke. "This is really for the best, sweetheart." Sweetheart. She used the same voice people use calming nervous children before medical procedures. Then finally, my father looked up. First time all afternoon. No warmth, no hesitation. "You left years ago," he said simply. "This only makes it official." The room went completely still after that. Not shocked, comfortable. Like everyone had already accepted this version of reality long before I walked through the door. I looked down at the papers again, then slowly around the table. Nobody looked uncomfortable. Nobody looked guilty. That was the moment something cold settled inside me. They had already erased me everywhere except the paperwork. Now they wanted me to do the rest myself. Nobody spoke for a few seconds after my father said it. "This only makes it official." The silence afterward felt worse than yelling, because nobody argued with him, not my mother, not Vanessa, not even me. I looked back down at the papers, trying to reread the paragraph in front of me, but the words stopped making sense halfway through. For a second, I genuinely couldn't feel my hands. Vanessa must have noticed because her voice softened immediately. "We're not trying to hurt you," she said carefully. That almost made it worse. Like this was some reasonable conversation, like they were helping me accept reality. She pulled out a pen and placed it beside the folder. Slow, gentle, prepared. "If we handle this now," she continued, "everything stays clean moving forward." Clean. The word sounded cold in that room. Across the table, my uncle gave a small nod like this was all practical business. Even my mother looked relieved. Relieved. Like the hardest part had simply been getting me into the chair. I suddenly realized this meeting had never been about discussion. It was compliance. And everyone in that room expected me to cooperate quietly the way I always had before. I felt my nails pressing into the edge of the table. Hard enough to hurt. Vanessa leaned slightly closer. "You haven't really been involved for years anyway," she said softly. "This lets everyone move forward peacefully." Move forward. Without me, I looked around the room again. Nobody looked cruel. That was the disturbing part. They looked comfortable. Like people finishing paperwork after already making the real decision weeks ago. Then my father signed his own document without even looking at me first. One signature. Calm, automatic, like removing me from the family required less emotional effort than renewing a gym membership. Something inside me went completely still after that. Not anger, not sadness. Clarity. Because for the first time in my life, I stopped wondering whether my family loved me, and started wondering how much of their lives quietly depended on me without them even realizing it. Nobody spoke after my father signed the document. The room settled into this quiet confidence like everything was already finished. Vanessa gently pushed the pen toward me. "We all agreed this was fair." Fair. I looked down at the signature line again. My name printed neatly at the bottom, waiting for me to approve my own removal from the family. Then my mother spoke softly. "Nobody wants conflict today, sweetheart." There it was. The trap beneath all the politeness. If I resisted, I became difficult, emotional, Ungrateful. The same role they had handed me my entire life. For a second, I almost reached for the pen automatically. That scared me more than anything, because some part of me had been trained to keep the peace even while being erased. Then my father signed his own page without looking at me again. Calm. Routine. Like removing me from the family required less emotional effort than paying a utility bill. Something inside me finally went still after that. Not anger, not sadness, clarity. I closed the folder slowly. "I'm not signing this," I said quietly. The room changed immediately. Tiny reactions. Vanessa straightened slightly. My uncle stopped moving his pen. Even my father finally looked directly at me. Vanessa recovered first. "This doesn't need to become dramatic." I almost smiled. Because apparently removing your daughter from the family wasn't dramatic. Only resisting it was. Then I reached into my bag and pulled out the black folder. Nobody reacted at first, until I opened it. Wire transfers, property tax records, private trust payments, business bailout documents. Page after page after page. I slid one document across the table toward my father. His expression changed before he even finished reading it. The estate's operating account, funded quietly for 7 years, by me. Another document. My brother's failed investment company, the anonymous bailout that saved it from collapsing. Mine, another, medical insurance payments, property debt coverage, even the renovation loan for this house. Mine. Nobody spoke now, not because they were comfortable, because they were trying to understand how much of their lives had quietly depended on the daughter they treated like a burden. Vanessa looked pale. My mother actually looked confused. And my father, for the first time in my life, looked uncertain. I stood up slowly beside the unmatched chair. "The difference between me and this family," I said calmly, "is that I never needed you to survive." Nobody stopped me when I walked away. Not my father, not Vanessa, not even my mother. And that was fine. Because by the time I reached the front doors, I finally understood something they never did. Being unwanted by the wrong people can become freedom. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.